Welcome back to I Testify Conversation Station. I'm so happy that you could join us today. My name is Rashida Jeremiah, and today we're going to be talking about overcoming failure. I'm joined with some very special guests. I'll give you guys a second to introduce yourselves. Just let us know your name, let us know what you're doing right now in life, and what your home church is.
I guess I'll start. I'm Eugene Samuel. I am a photographer, podcaster, a whole bunch of stuff. Wear a lot of hats. But yeah, that's me.
My name is Tevin Wellington. I'm an engineering student, up and coming model. My home church is Mount Olive from Toronto. Yeah.
Nice. Amen. Thank you guys for joining me today in this conversation. We're going to be talking about failure.
Welcome to I Testify Conversation Station. Available on Spotify, Apple, Google podcast platforms.
Today's quote of the day comes from Gospel Workers by Ellen G. White. And it says, "Workers for Christ are never to think, much less speak of failure in their work. The Lord Jesus is our efficiency in all things. His Spirit is to be our inspiration, and as we place ourselves in his hands to be channels of light, our means of doing good will never be exhausted." We're going to be breaking this down into a couple different sections, but right now let's just first start with, what is failure?
To me, I'd say failure is the beginning of success.
It's a banger.
Right? I mean, a lot of people have said it before. Like, if you don't fail, you can't really step into so you can't succeed really, because if you don't know how to take a loss, how are you gonna know how to actually keep up winning, right?
I was gonna say failure is an opportunity for success, but that's kind of stealing what you said. Yeah. So give me a minute.
No, it is, to be honest, it's still two different ways of looking at it, but it is the same thing retrospectively, right?
Yeah.
Valid. And that's my answer.
I really like how you guys are so optimistic with your answers. Like, it's automatically like, oh, like just you're not even looking at it from a negative perspective. So then I guess, I don't know if I should even ask this question, but does failure provide some sort of benefit?
Want me to go first?
Go ahead.
Okay. I would say that failure inherently provides benefit. That's I kind of think of the whole purpose of failure. Because a failure is when you set out to do something and you don't accomplish what you set out to do, or you mess up in some way, shape, or form. That's just an opportunity that highlights where you messed up, how you messed up, and it's an opportunity to fix. We need it's kind of like glass half empty, glass half full type of thing, where you could also look at it as like, oh, I messed up. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe this is just a sign that, like, I'm just not meant to be in this, let's say, area, or not meant to do this thing. But if you look at it from, as you said, the more optimistic side, it's just an opportunity to learn, improve, just advance.
And get better, exactly. Yeah.
No, 100%, bro. You're 100% right. Like, for myself, like, I mean, like I said before, failure, like as Tevin said as well, failure is the opportunity for success. So like when I look at my life, I look at it as every opportunity that I get, even if I fail, I'm taking that as a lesson to basically perform better next time. Because now I know the steps that I took, and when I failed, now I know what steps I can take to succeed.
So it sounds like you guys are describing that failure gives you like a new sense of like determination to be able to do better for yourself and to become better in whatever you have failed in, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then are there different emotions, or I'm going to say like, I guess we can say emotions on a positive and negative perspective, but also like problems that can arise from experiencing failure?
Yeah, 100%. Because like you said, like me and Tevin right now, we're thinking of it in a positive aspect, right? Of course, if you have a person that's thinking of it negatively, personally, I try not to think of things negatively. Yeah. Why? Because it's going to put me in a place where I'm not going to pursue any of my goals that I want to get to, right? So obviously, like, thinking of things negatively will put you in a place where you're just like, you're in that, like almost like depression, kind of, just to be more like extra with it. But yeah, it's putting you in a place of depression where you yourself, you're thinking too much about this thing, when sometimes it's not necessarily, it's not as big as you think it is, when really all you have to do is just step over and then continue on.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I think there's tons of different emotions. The first emotion that I thought of would be like regret. You know what I mean? Like if you, let's say you didn't take a shot or you didn't go for this opportunity, and then later on the line you wish you would.
Yeah.
And that really drags you down, because regret is one of the longest lasting emotions that I could personally think of.
100%.
That could go all the way to your grave. Like something that happened, like let's say when you're a teenager, you just think about on your deathbed and you're just like, wow, that's crazy. I really did that. And you're just there suffering.
Yeah. I think a big part of that, though, like with regret, is that because with regret comes the possibility of a different path in your life. So if you had taken that step and done that one thing, there's a whole other path that could have opened up, but now you don't know what that could have been. You know what I mean? But then again, that's the reality with everything. Every choice that we make or every decision that we decide to take, there's always the alternative that we'll never be aware of. Yeah. So, okay. So, talking about failure, we've now discussed what failure is, and you guys have spoken about it from an optimistic point of view. And you guys have talked about even the, like you said, pessimistic side or like the negative side of it. But if we think about actually failing, we've all experienced failure at some point in our life.
Too many times.
And so my question is, what are some circumstances that can cause us to fail?
Ooh.
People taking advantage of you.
Okay.
Yeah.
In any kind of situation, really, like sorry, it can even go into like even your own family, like like it can even get that deep. I mean, just things are just thrown at you in the worst way possible. Like talking about like you're literally in a neighborhood where you're not getting the right amount of appreciation, or people aren't giving you the right motivation, and like everybody keeps putting you down. Right? I mean, that's one way I see it.
For me, probably the most recent and largest source of failure I've ever experienced was when I wasn't like confident in like who I was. Like going from grade 12 to first university, it was a big culture shock because of the different demographic.
Yeah.
I grew up in Toronto, coming over here to McMaster, it was very different, to say the least. And then just having to build myself back up mentally to be like, well, I did get in, so I guess I deserve to be here, so I might as well graduate.
And that's actually another point too, right there, confidence.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at people that are confident, you'd be like, nah, they're not going to fail at anything. Like,
Yes. Yeah.
But even confidence in itself, it's something that you have to grow into.
Yeah.
You don't
And
just,
I really fear that expectation. I pray no one ever, if anybody knows me and they're listening to this or watching this, don't ever think that like, because I'm a very nonchalant person, don't ever think just because I'm a very like easygoing, nonchalant person that I'm not scared of failure. I'm not scared of like different things. Because that expectation is one of the scariest things to me.
Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, and the fact that you think like that is actually so big in itself, because the fact that you understand what failure is, and you take that in, you're just like, okay, I'm ready for it. And fear in itself is basically your instinct to tell you like, yo, be cautious, be aware, know exactly what's going on. Like, just like if you watch anybody in a movie, like that fear is what basically gives them that understanding. Okay, like I'm about to swing off of this cliff, but I'm going to make it.
Yeah.
I'm still scared, but I'm just going to do it anyway, right?
Okay, so how does the lack of knowledge then play into this role of failure? Does it have a place in failing, and how so?
I'd say it does. I say lack of knowledge definitely has a place in failure, because the more knowledgeable we are about something, the less fear. Because fear ultimately comes from the unknown to a certain extent, obviously. Ultimately comes from the unknown. And when you kind of fill in that gap of the unknown, then there's really nothing to be afraid of. You could attack something. Let's not say that you're like 100%, but you know that there's a higher likelihood that you will accomplish success.
Yeah.
True. I agree with you, but then I don't.
Valid.
Right? Because like, even though like you, sorry, I kind of forgot. What was the question again? Sorry.
Lack of knowledge, does it play a role in failing? And how so?
Okay. So the lack of knowledge, I see that it plays a big role in failure, because if you don't know, how are you going to succeed in it? Right? If, for instance, if Why am I losing my train of thought right now? But if you don't, yeah, like I was saying, if you don't know, then how are you gonna succeed? If looking to the future, obviously you don't know the future, right? For me, I always expect the unexpected. So what happens whenever anything does happen, I'm kind of like, I'm ready, but I'm not ready.
Yeah.
You know? So like if I'm coming into a shoot and I know that, okay, I have all my stuff set up, but then all of a sudden there's 10 other people that are coming in trying to do the shoot. Okay, so now I have to be confident and be like, okay, don't be afraid. so that you don't stumble on your words and trying to tell them what to do and everything, so that everything goes properly.
Yeah.
Right? That having that lack of knowledge about things can, like you said, it helps you out, but at the same time it does pull you back a little bit.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But that's for me, for like all the gaps that I can't possibly know. Like as you said, the future is something I can't possibly know. All the gaps in my knowledge, that's where kind of my faith comes in. That's where God comes in for me. So I'm just like, if I don't got it, I pray that He does, and I just move.
No, 100%. Yeah, of course. And then you bring that element into it too. Then you're just like, okay, boom, failure out the window.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's so important to acknowledge that, like having a lack of knowledge about certain things that you're going to, like you said, a shoot. Like you can be as prepared as you can. And when you do that, then you've set yourself up to do the best that you can. But without doing that for yourself, or without doing that with God, I should say, actually, preparing yourself, making yourself knowledgeable about the situations that you may be entering, or whatever it may be, then you're essentially setting yourself up for, failure, you know? The way I think about it, I don't know, my brain, I'm very like visual. So in my mind, I just thought, okay, like if I went to a city that I've never been to before, or maybe I've been to, I'm just like very bad with directions in general. So like say you put me in Dorado, you could say
Downtown.
Hamilton. If you put me in downtown Hamilton and you said, listen, Rashida, there's this place on the corner of
Young and Blow. No, that's Toronto, my man. James
you need to
James
go
and John
here.
or something.
You need to do this, and this is what I need you to accomplish within this amount of time. Now, me, I know myself. I know I don't know, like without a GPS, don't ask me for any directions. I can't help you. So if I were to place myself in that situation where it's like, okay, I need you to go downtown and do this, but I have no guide and I have no knowledge of the city, then I'm setting myself up to fail because I'm driving aimlessly. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. But when you equip yourself with knowledge, whether that's through, in this scenario, studying the map before I leave my house, or using a GPS, or even asking someone on the street, hey, do you know where so-and-so is? Then I'm setting myself up to do the best that I can to accomplish the task that I was given. Yeah. And if I do get lost, if I do, like miss out on whatever, that's okay. At least I tried my best. At least I did my best. And it's the same with us in a spiritual sense. If you don't equip yourself with the knowledge of whatever you may be experiencing, whatever situation you're going through, like, hey, I'm suffering in this, but God's word tells me so and so and so. If we don't do that for ourselves, then we're setting ourselves up for failure. We're setting ourselves to be in a deeper hole more and more as time goes on. 100%. So the same thing applies. Without God's spirit and power of influence guiding us and giving us the knowledge to be able to overcome the failure that we may experience, then we're doomed.
100%. Jeez.
So let's talk about weakness in terms of failure. How does weakness play a role in the circumstances that can cause us to fail?
What is weakness?
That's a
Very good question.
Because is weakness not being equipped for a certain situation? And if weakness is not being equipped for a certain situation, then that ties into what we said before of not being knowledgeable enough, right? So that could be an area of weakness. So
it also could be your mental state.
Valid, yeah.
The way how you perceive things and the way how you think things should be, right? Because you can be, of course, weak-minded in the fact that, oh, this person told me this, and everything is just collapsing within yourself. Your mind is just like, whoa, this person told me that I suck at this. It's just like, whoa. Just hitting you like, shoot, I must really be bad at this. And then you just take that in. That's another way of weakness.
What about spiritual weakness?
Oh, definitely. I think that definitely has an impact.
Well, what does that mean?
You don't know your Bible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you don't know God the way how you feel like you should know him.
Okay.
It could tie into what we both said. It's not mentally being connected with God and then not having the knowledge base of the Bible.
Exactly.
Do you think that it could also, just throwing a bone out here, but like trying to do things in your own might, does that attest to weakness, or is that just another thing like stubbornness? Or
Yeah, I think that's more like stubbornness or ignorance. You're going under the assumption that you can do it in your own mind when you can't.
But then also if you do go on the assumption that you can do everything on yourself, wouldn't that mean that you know?
Hopefully you would know, because if you didn't know, then it'd just be setting yourself up.
Do you only know to a certain extent? Because you can know a lot in your own human might, but without God,
you don't know you don't know God.
But with God there, without God there as a guiding factor. Do you understand what I mean? Like you can go in and say, I know what I'm doing. I know what I have to do. But say you're faced with a situation, it's like,
or you'd be like, I don't need God. I can do this on my own. I can do bad all by myself.
I think that's where failure goes in. That's where I would assume failure would go in, when you start to become like overconfident. I start to assume that I don't need any outside assistance. Outside assistance being God in this case to overcome this. When obviously we do need God. So.
From a spiritual aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you guys experienced that in your personal life?
Yeah.
Saying that, I can do this on my own. I don't need your help, God. I got it.
Yeah. I never say those words, but what I do is basically that.
Yeah. You think it.
Yeah.
Like subconsciously it's there. It's like, no, like, cause even for myself, like going through a Catholic school, just learning that curriculum on its own, like religion, I was just like, cause now you're bombarded with like, every single religion that they teach you, from Islam to Roman Catholic and all the way down to like, I don't know, Buddhist, right? So even with that, and then looking at your own denomination, you're just like, whoa, this is very different. I don't know how to actually consume all this stuff and then put it out there. Like, am I still myself within my own denomination? Can I still be successful with what I believe and not get overwhelmed by everything else? If you get what I'm saying.
I went to a Catholic high school. It's a very similar thing. I understand exactly what you're saying. Just seeing everybody else kind of go down this kind of mindset and believe this one thing, and them not necessarily being as having as strong as a relationship in their denomination. Like within Catholicism, the relationship between you and God is not as stressed as it is for us as Adventists. So just seeing that and then reflecting on myself and making sure that I'm always going to God, trying to keep that in my mind, so I'm never falling into the trap that we just laid out of just thinking that I can do this by myself.
Yeah.
I think it's also important to acknowledge that sometimes that mentality of I can do this by myself isn't like conscious to us. Yeah. Sometimes we just tend to be placed in tough situations, and you're just like, oh, let me just try and figure this out. And your first thought isn't, hey, let me go to God. Let me see what the word says about this. Let me consult my maker to know what I should be doing in terms of the situation. So it can work in both ways, in the sense of like you consciously know, like, hey, like I got this, I can do it. But also you don't realize that you're doing it. I know that like personally that I've experienced that a lot, where I'm like especially stressed or faced with a lot of different situations. I'm just like, okay, I need to get this done and this and this and this. And it's not a sense of, hey, let me like talk to God and ask him for help. It's just, let me get this done. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So then does God allow us to experience failure? And by that, I mean, because I know the quick answer would be yes, right?
Yeah.
But by that, I mean, does God allow us to enter situations or are we able to be led into situations where we're allowed to fail and God just lets that happen to us?
I feel like if you like with for instance with Job, right? You look up the story of Job, right? The devil literally had to come up to God and be like, "Yo, can I test this guy?" Right? But that was not to see if he would fail, right? It was to show that Job, like, yo, you are a faithful man. Like, no matter what you go through, you will overcome because of how much faith you have in me. Right? So, I mean, to me, that's just another way a big example, really, to show you that even no matter what, even though you don't have riches or you are rich, whatever circumstance you're in, like with God, you can always succeed in no matter what you're doing.
For me, I'm just definitely thinking of all the other examples because Job was the first one. Job was always the first one that comes to my mind. But just looking at all the different heroes or protagonists of the Bible and just seeing what they went through and just seeing how for every situation it was to build them up for another situation that they'd be encountering in the future.
Because they had to fail.
Exactly. You have to fail to learn to then get built up for the other failure.
Exactly.
And then that other failure propels your character even further. And it's just about building yourself up, right? So that's kind of why I think of it. I think failure is necessary. I think if we didn't have any failure, then can't even imagine that. We'd just be robots. Everything would just be ideal and perfect and boring.
Yeah, because you even look at Paul. Yeah. Right? Like that story for me, I was just like, whoa. Dude came out trying to kill all Christians. Like, man was stoning them, like just standing there and just like, yeah, do it.
Yeah.
See, here's the stone. Chuck it. Like, right? And then all of a sudden, just boom, blindness. And then,
That's an epic story. So Paul turned Saul?
Yeah.
Saul turned Paul, my fault. But yeah.
But like, just looking at that, I mean, like, we have to go through failure. No matter, like, it doesn't even, like, for you to even develop a conscious mind of like who you are, right? You have to, before you can walk, you're gonna fall. Yeah. Right? Before you crawl, you're gonna be crawling on the floor and scratch yourself or something, and you're gonna cry. Yeah. But then now I'm gonna do my best not to scratch myself, or even better, I'm not gonna touch the hot plate. Yeah. Right? Because what happens? I'm gonna get burned. Yeah. And then when I touch it and I know I got burned, I'm not gonna do it again. Yeah.
you make mistakes and you learn from them. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I really like how you brought up those examples, because I was literally just thinking about, like, in the sense of parenting. I mean, I'm not a parent, but like in the sense of like my parents to me, like it was never a thing growing up where it's like I fail at something and my parents are going to fix my problem for me. Like me failing is there for me to learn and from there grow.
Bro, for me, that really rings true. It's because when I broke my first phone when I was in Canada, I broke it and I was terrified of what my dad was gonna do to me. So like I didn't tell him for like a good couple weeks. And when I finally wound up like got up the nerve to actually tell him, he just looked at me and he's like, "It's your phone, you broke it, it's your problem." I'm like, "Yo, that's crazy." I was expecting to die. I was going through all these things. All these things that's gonna happen to me, what he's gonna do to me, and he's just like, "It's your problem. You need to work up to get a new phone and pay for it yourself or something. You need to figure out what to do."
Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, like even in that situation, it kind of like it puts you in kind of humbles you. Yeah. Right? Because you think you went and gone and break the glass or something. Your mom's gonna come back and beat you. It's like, are you okay? But you did break it, so understand you messed up, right? Like you're expecting something drastic to happen to you, but literally it's just like a lesson. Yeah. It's like, okay, now you broke it. Now learn from that. Don't do it again.
Yeah. Okay, so then what can we do? And you can answer this in the sense of like as Christians or even just as youth, what can we do to overcome failure? What are what is like advice that you would give to someone who has miserably failed at something? What can we do to overcome?
I'd say look to people that have failed and look at their path that they've gone through and look at them now. Especially looking at your own friends. I mean, my parents have preached that to me from time. If you look at your friends, I can tell you who you are, right? So if you look at your friends and you look at yourself and you see that you're not growing or you're not improving on the things that you want to do, your accomplishments, your ideals, then there's something wrong. Something has to change, right? You look at, the best way I can explain it is to look at an entrepreneur, right? When you look at an entrepreneur, that person is their whole goal is to create jobs, make money, right? They will fail. Why? Because they're going to try to make a job. It's not going to work maybe the first time. They're going to do it again, right? But just that fact of them trying again is that that's the indicator to be like, okay, this person still, even though they failed here, they're gonna go again and try to make another business and try to succeed, or fail at that again and then try again, right? It's always that repetitive mindset of like, even though I failed here, I'm still gonna try again because I know what I did wrong here, and now I understand what I got to do to take the next step.
Yeah, continue to persevere.
Yeah,
Indeed. I was gonna say something, but then you just reminded me of this quote. I don't think it's true, but I think it said Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times before he created the light bulb, right? So he went through 1,000 iterations of that final product ended up being the light bulb, and then the 1,001st one was the big invention that we all use today, and it's a massive technological revolution. So what I was kind of thinking of before I thought of that quote was kind of, if you're gonna fail forward. You know, the best the best landing is the one that you can walk away from. It doesn't matter if you crash, just crash landing. It doesn't matter if you land perfectly. Are you survive? Can you learn? Can you move forward? That's just it. If you're gonna fail, just fail forward, and just, because even if you fail and you fail forward, just you continue to move. Yeah. And that's progress is the whole point.
Yeah. I feel that's the main thing. That's the main idea about failure. Like progress. Once you it's not about how hard you get hit. It's about how many times you can get back up. I don't think I said that right, but
Rocky quote.
Yeah, right. It's about the amount of times you can get back up after getting hit, right? So I mean, like, that's basically just the gist of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You guys hit it like right on. I was like, I don't even have anything else to say because you guys actually just hit it. I was gonna say, also, I think it's important as young adults, or even like us being, I guess, mentors to up and coming youth, or even seeking mentorship from people who have experienced things before. It's important to be a sense of support. I think that a lot of times with failure, sometimes people feel like they're alone as well. And just like reminding them and being there and saying, hey, like, you got this, don't worry. Like God will help you through this, and being that like earthly push, that motivation. That's also super important as Christians and as youth up and coming in this society, because it's a tough world out there.
Very tough.
Out there, if you fail, people walk right over you.
Yeah, nobody's gonna pick you up.
Yeah, exactly. No one's there to help you. So it's so important that within the confines of what we believe as Christians, that we take the steps to provide that sense of community and that sense of support. Not to say that we should, do the steps for these people, like the same way we said that, like, our parents didn't help us when we failed. It was, you need to figure it out for yourself. It's the same sense, but we're there to provide that support. Our parents still supported us.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they didn't leave us out in the cold. It wasn't like they weren't there for advice if we needed it.
Yeah.
And so it's so important that we too take on that role for individuals within the church who may fail. Because exactly, and when we're placed in that situation, we'll still have that community as well. 100%. There's gonna be, Eugene's gonna have my back if I fail. 100%. Eugene's gonna be there pushing me. I'm gonna be pushing Tevin's gonna be pushing Eugene. Exactly. You see, it works full just circle. Like that. Exactly.
No, I mean like
A triangle.
especially especially growing up in the church, like there's so many times I've seen adults, young people just getting at each other about little things when really it should be, oh no, I don't understand. Could you help me?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, young people, we're prideful. we're not gonna tell another adult like, oh yeah, you're right. But I mean, like, we got to learn how to like humble ourselves and be in that mindset of like, okay, no, you know more than I do. Let me listen, and then it's up to me to take that information and do what I can with it, right?
Well, that's an amazing point, because I always try to practice the idea of no matter who the person is, no matter what position they're in life, there's always possible knowledge that can come from that person.
yeah.
So like even like random people that come up to me on the street, I always try to listen to them to see what they have to say. Like it'll be the most random things. Like I'll be walking downtown Toronto, gonna buy like shoes or something, and someone just stopped me. He's probably under the influence of some, narcotics. But I hear him out, as long as my life isn't in danger, of course. But I hear him out, hear what he has to say. So that goes from that person all the way up to like a teacher, all the way up to like some mentor that I have. Throughout all from that person that I met on the street all the way up to the mentor, I try to listen to what everyone has to say. And it's up to me to internalize it and say, does it apply to my life directly? Am I going to utilize it? And yeah,
because you never know, because what that homeless person or whatever that person has said literally could help somebody else.
Exactly.
Right. And we shouldn't even forget that, like, for myself, I've learned a lot from you guys. Right. And understand, being that you guys are younger than me, no, I don't look at it like that. I look at it as I'm like, yo, these guys know a little bit more than I do because of where they are in their age, right? Like I may know a little bit more, but when it comes down to, we are all sharing our knowledge.
Yeah.
Right?
I actually forget how old you are all the time.
Right? I mean,
Forget how old
I'm not gonna
We
lie.
all forget.
I don't act my age, but when I do, I do. Right?
Yeah.
Right? Because even when I'm working with like Rashida or I'm working with you, it's like I have to remember, I'm like, no, this is a lesson. I'm not here just to like stomp all over and be like, no, I'm better than you. No, it's me showing you what I've learned, and then you showing somebody else what you've learned from me, and the same thing goes down, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a big circle of life, right? That we all go through, and we all got to understand. It's just like learn from each other, listen to your elders, listen to the young people in your life, because from the mouths of babes, hello, right? It can all
Guys preaching.
it can all just come full circle together for you in whatever life situation that you're going through.
So you guys have said a lot of very important things in today's conversation. So if you could summarize it, it's my favorite thing to do, because I like hearing your summary of what you've learned from each other, So if you could summarize overcoming failure into one sentence and use that to encourage someone, what would you say?
I would say if we're gonna fail, prepare yourself so you don't fail. Obviously, don't set yourself up for failure. But if you're going to fail forward. I think that pretty much summarizes like how to overcome. So it's like no matter what situation you're in, no matter how down you are, if you keep making sure you're failing forward, then you're gonna keep progressing.
Learn from your mistakes and expect the unexpected.
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Appreciate
having us.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, it's nice to be on the other side of the seat.
Yeah. This has been I Testify, a conversation station. Thank you so much for joining us in today's conversation. And if you have something to share or something to add to what has been said by Tevin or Eugene, please leave it down in the comments below, and we'll be sure to check it out. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for our next podcast.
This is I Testify, and you're listening to the Conversation Station.
Available on all podcast platforms.